Prontinho.
Bom dia, pessoal. Estamos aqui para uma defesa de mestrado da aluna da USP, Verônica Salles, do programa de pós-graduação em Psicologia Experimental. E ela tem uns 40 minutos, né, para fazer a apresentação dela, e depois daremos seguimento à arguição da banca, tá? Então, já estamos um pouquinho atrasados, um dos membros da banca não apareceu, né, que é o professor Okanoya, infelizmente, não sabemos por quê, mas vamos começar. Então, a Renata e a Marina gentilmente aceitaram o nosso convite, e então, sem mais demoras, vamos dar início à apresentação. Obrigada pela presença de todos.
Bem-vindo todo mundo. A minha apresentação vai estar em inglês, porque ela foi programada para o professor Kazuo, mas já que está todo mundo em português, eu vou apresentá-la em português também. Então, o meu projeto, ele foi supervisionado pela professora Luisa da Silva, e ele é sobre as influências do ruído urbano nos sons do Zonotrichia capensis e do Turdus rufiventris, que é o tico-tico e o sabiá. O meu programa, eu faço parte do programa de Psicologia Experimental do Instituto de Psicologia da Universidade de São Paulo. E primeiro eu queria introduzir alguns conceitos sobre comunicação e som. Então, tem diversas definições de comunicação. No nosso trabalho, a gente usou que a comunicação ela é a transmissão intencional de um sinal que vai ser recebido e interpretado por um receptor, e isso vai influenciar o comportamento dele de forma imediata ou subsequente, e ele vai produzir uma resposta para o emissor. E a gente tem diferentes tipos de sinais, eles podem ser químicos, visuais, mas as aves, elas têm uma intensa atividade vocal, então a comunicação por sons, ela vai ter uma importância muito grande na vida delas. E como o código de comunicação das aves está relacionado com os parâmetros físicos do som, é interessante primeiro a gente avaliar quais são esses parâmetros e entender o conceito da onda sonora. Então, aqui na imagem, a gente tem a moça tocando a harpa, e em volta desse fio da harpa, a gente vai ter moléculas de ar, e conforme a corda vai ser puxada, essas moléculas, elas também vão ser empurradas para frente e para trás. E se a gente desenhar o movimento de uma única molécula, a gente vai ter o desenho da onda sonora. E isso é a onda sonora. E a gente tem três principais parâmetros que são do som. O primeiro é a frequência, e ele vai estar representando quão rápido essa molécula vai estar vibrando. Para as frequências rápidas, isso significa que a molécula está tendo um movimento mais rápido e ela vai gerar um som mais agudo. Para as frequências mais graves, frequências mais baixas, a gente vai ter sons mais graves quando a onda está se movimentando de uma forma mais lenta. O segundo parâmetro é o da amplitude. A amplitude ela vai estar demonstrando quão longe essa molécula está indo do ponto inicial. E o terceiro é o tempo, que ele vai estar representando por quanto tempo essa molécula ficou se movimentando. E usando esses três parâmetros, a gente pode fazer uma representação gráfica do som, que é chamado sonograma. Então, a gente vai ter no eixo Y a frequência, no eixo X a gente vai ter o tempo, e a opacidade da imagem ela vai estar representando a amplitude ou intensidade do som. Aí aqui, por exemplo, a gente vai ter o sonograma do sabiá laranjeira. Agora que a gente já tem esse contexto, é hora de ver um pouquinho como é que o ruído ele vai estar interferindo no canto das aves. E antes de tudo, o conceito de canto, para as aves, ele é definido como sinal acústico que está relacionado com o reconhecimento específico e individual. E enquanto a ave também está recebendo esses sinais, ela vai estar recebendo vários outros sons. E todos esses sons que não fazem parte do sinal, eles vão ser chamados de ruídos e eles vão diminuir a detecção dos sinais acústicos. E os sons, eles podem ter diversas origens, como a gente vê aqui, que podem ser, por exemplo, origens de atividades humanas, da natureza. Mas no meu trabalho, eu estou estudando os efeitos do ruído antropogênico. E é interessante estudar os efeitos desses ruídos, porque eles já afetam a vida dos animais, e até 2050 é esperado que 68% da população mundial esteja vivendo em cidades. E aqui, por exemplo, são 2 gravações minhas, e a caixinha azul a gente tem o canto de uma ave, e na caixinha vermelha a gente vai ter um ruído antropogênico. Na primeira imagem, a gente consegue ver que o trânsito, o barulho de trânsito, ele já está sobrepondo um pouco o canto da ave. E aqui na segunda imagem a gente pode ver que a buzina, ela tem a mesma frequência que o canto da ave. E isso vai causar o efeito chamado de mascaramento. Que o mascaramento é quando o ruído ele vai estar acontecendo durante o mesmo momento do som, ou ele vai ter a mesma frequência do som, vai ter uma grande intensidade, e isso pode diminuir a percepção do sinal acústico. E como eu falei que os parâmetros acústicos eles estão relacionados com os códigos de comunicação, com a capacidade da ave de reconhecer o indivíduo, devido à plasticidade fenotípica e à seleção natural, a ave ela vai poder ter mudanças nesses parâmetros para manter a efetividade da mensagem. Então, aqui eu vou mostrar um pouquinho quais mudanças poderiam acontecer nesses parâmetros. Começando com a frequência, a gente pode ter um aumento na frequência mínima, e esse aumento vai estar relacionado ao quanto que o ruído vai estar sobrepondo a mesma frequência. O segundo ponto é a amplitude, que ela tem um efeito conhecido como o efeito Lombardi, que ele vai falar sobre o aumento da vocalização, da intensidade da vocalização em situações de ruído. O terceiro possível, sobre o tempo, é que o canto ele pode ter uma menor duração, ele pode ter um menor intervalo de frases, ele pode ter cantos mais longos, ou até ele pode estar intercalando o canto com o ruído. E junto com todos esses parâmetros físicos, a gente também pode ter efeitos na complexidade do som. Então, por exemplo, aqui ele pode estar tendo a diminuição do repertório, ele pode estar repetindo as mesmas notas ou as mesmas frases, e aqui ele pode estar colocando notas introdutórias com pouca informação. Agora que eu comecei a falar sobre a complexidade, eu vou mostrar formas de se analisar essa complexidade. Os pesquisadores no ramo de comunicação animal, eles já definiram diversos eixos para se analisar a complexidade, e eles podem ser variações na forma do sinal, nos componentes, na organização. E todas essas características, apesar de elas serem discutidas juntas como complexidade, elas são elementos independentes do som, e elas podem servir a diferentes funções, então é muito provável que elas também estejam sobre diferentes pressões evolutivas. Então, assim, no meu trabalho, eu selecionei componentes de organização para estudar a complexidade, e a gente vai estar analisando o repertório, a entropia informacional e os padrões de sequência. Quanto ao repertório, ele vai estar representando todos os sons possíveis que a ave pode fazer e a partir dos quais ela vai montar o seu canto. No caso da entropia informacional, considerando que o sinal é o canto que ela está emitindo, os sons que ela pode escolher, ela vai ter uma liberdade de escolha em quais sons ela vai usar. E isso vai dar diferentes probabilidades para cada som que ela vai fazer. Então, assim, cada som vai ter uma quantidade diferente de informação, e essa quantidade diferente de informação é medida pela sua previsibilidade. A entropia informacional, então, ela vai estar no eixo que ela vai falar sobre quais sons são mais previsíveis e quais são menos previsíveis. Numa entropia zero, por exemplo, a gente vai ter as batidas do pica-pau campéfilos robustos. Numa intermediária, a gente pode ter o canto do Zonotrichia capensis, que ele vai ter um canto mais padronizado, ele vai ter padrões, mas ele vai ter variações nesse canto. Uma entropia um pouquinho maior pode ser os sons do Turdus, rufiventris e da lucínia, porque eles vão ser cantos mais versáteis. E para uma entropia máxima, a gente pode ter o canto do pássaro lira e do Turdus laurensis, porque eles vão ter imitações aleatórias dentro do seu repertório. Outra forma de a gente analisar a complexidade é através das sequências. Então, quando a ave está cantando o seu som, após cada som vai ter uma probabilidade para qual som vai vir em seguida. E quando a gente tem modelos estocásticos, são modelos aleatórios complexos, a gente pode analisar essas sequências considerando apenas o elemento anterior ou alguns elementos anteriores apenas. E com isso, a gente consegue calcular a probabilidade de cada tipo de transição que eu posso ter dentro do som e montar o que a gente chama de cadeia de Markov. A cadeia de Markov ela vai estar ilustrando essas sequências de transições entre cada unidade de som e ela vai estar assinalando uma probabilidade para o novo estado que vai vir a partir do estado anterior. E, por fim, uma última forma de analisar é através da análise de redes. A análise de redes ela vai utilizar a teoria de grafos, e a teoria de grafos ela vai estudar a relação entre diferentes itens. E ela vai permitir codificar e analisar esses padrões e a conectividade entre eles. Cada item vai ser chamado de nó, e cada relação vai ser chamada de aresta. E as arestas elas vão poder ser mais grossas ou mais finas, dependendo da quantidade de vezes que aquela relação se repetiu. Alguns parâmetros que a gente pode utilizar na análise de redes é o average degree, que eu não lembro agora de qual é a tradução, que ele vai estar representando o número de nós, em média, que cada nó vai estar conectado. O average weighted degree, ele vai estar representando, ele vai levar em conta quantas vezes aquela sequência se repetiu. Aqui é o caminho médio, que ele vai estar representando por quantos nós eu vou ter que obrigatoriamente passar para conectar dois nós aleatórios na minha rede. E o cluster coefficient, ele vai estar representando, se eu pegar 3 nós aleatórios, qual é a chance de que eles vão estar conectados em todas as conexões possíveis entre eles. Então, agora falando de todo esse contexto, vem as minhas espécies modelos, que foram o Zonotrichia capensis, que é o tico-tico, e o Turdus rufiventris, que é o sabiá. Eles, além de terem uma ampla distribuição, eles ocorrem em ambientes urbanos, mas eles também vão ter, o tico-tico vai ter um som simples e o sabiá ele vai ter um som mais complexo. E quando a gente fala de sons simples e complexos, eles podem desenvolver diferentes mecanismos para ultrapassar esses efeitos negativos do som. Então, é interessante eu analisar tipos diferentes de sons. Para o Zonotrichia capensis, o canto dele ele vai ser principalmente assovios, seguidos desses trios, que é essas decaídas. As variações vão ser principalmente nas notas do meio, e ele pode chegar a uma frequência mínima de por volta de 2 kHz e uma máxima por volta de 7 kHz. Para o sabiá, ele vai ter cantos que são mais longos e mais complexos, eles vai ter tons puros, modulações, e ele pode ter uma frequência mínima por volta de 1 kHz e uma frequência máxima por volta de 4 kHz. Então, agora, para os meus objetivos, a gente pretende avaliar o efeito do ruído urbano nessas duas espécies brasileiras de aves. Para os parâmetros físicos, a gente analisou tanto o tico-tico quanto o sabiá, e a nossa hipótese é de que ambas as espécies elas vão ter um aumento na frequência mínima do som e nos intervalos de frases no ambiente urbano. Referente à complexidade, a gente estudou o canto do sabiá, e a nossa hipótese é de que ele vai ter um som mais estereotipado no ambiente urbano, com uma menor entropia informacional e repetição de sequências. Agora, falar um pouquinho dos nossos métodos. Para as gravações, a gente selecionou 2 parques para compor o nosso ambiente conservado. É o Parque Nacional da Serra da Cantareira, no estado de São Paulo, e o Parque Nacional da Serra do Tabuleiro, no estado de Santa Catarina. Para o ambiente urbano, a gente selecionou 4 parques municipais na cidade de São Paulo. E para as gravações, a gente avistou os indivíduos e fez o playback para identificação. A gente fez as gravações durante o período reprodutivo, que era de agosto a janeiro, entre os anos de 2021 e 2023. E depois de filtrar todas as gravações, a gente teve 11 gravações para o Tico-Tico no ambiente conservado e 6 para ele no ambiente urbano. E para o Sabiá, a gente teve 8 no ambiente conservado e 9 no ambiente urbano. Agora um pouquinho da minha análise de dados. Para os parâmetros físicos, eu usei o programa Raven-Pro e a gente fez a medição do ritmo, que é o intervalo de nota com a duração da nota dividido por 1000, a frequência mínima, frequência máxima, a duração do som, e depois a gente assinalou uma letra para cada tipo de som que a ave podia fazer. Assim, a gente vai ter o repertório dela, a diversidade de notas que ela pode fazer. As análises estatísticas, primeiro a gente conferiu a distribuição normal e a variação dos dados, e como elas estavam normais, a gente comparou os dois grupos usando o teste T. A gente fez também o multidimensional scaling, para ver se os dados eles eram diferentes o suficiente para separar os dois grupos. E depois a gente testou a relação dos parâmetros com o ruído através da correlação de Pearson. Para as análises de complexidade, começando com a entropia informacional, a gente utilizou o número de emissões e calculou a probabilidade das emissões de cada nota. E utilizando a fórmula descrita por Silva, a gente fez o cálculo da entropia informacional. Para a cadeia de Markov, a gente pegou as nossas frases e a cada duas notas, a gente viu a probabilidade delas acontecerem e a gente montou o nosso gráfico. A gente também tinha a matriz de transição, que aqui na vertical ela vai estar assinalando o estado inicial, que é de qual nota ela está saindo, e na horizontal o estado final, que é qual nota ela chegou. E aqui os números, elas são as probabilidades de transições entre essas notas. Tendo essa matriz, a gente separou quantas transições tinham uma probabilidade menor do que 50% de acontecer e quantas delas tinham uma probabilidade maior do que 50% de acontecer. E depois a gente utilizou esse número para comparar os grupos. Referente à análise de redes, cada parâmetro vai ter uma implicação na organização do som. Então, por exemplo, o average degree, ele vai estar representando o número médio de notas com que cada nota está conectada. O average weighted degree vai estar representando, em média, o número de transições que aconteceram na gravação. E o caminho médio, ele vai estar representando se existem algumas sequências estáveis dentro desse canto. Então, seriam como se para conectar dois nós, eu tenho que obrigatoriamente seguir um caminho, ou se tem alguns pequenos atalhos que ele poderia pegar. Por exemplo, se eu quero conectar a nota A e a nota D, se existe uma sequência estável, obrigatoriamente eu teria que passar por A, B e C antes de chegar em D. Mas se tem uma maior conectividade, eu posso ligar, de repente, direto A e D. E, por fim, a gente tem o Cluster Coefficient, que a gente pode indicar, que ele vai indicar a tendência de diferentes notas formarem grupos que têm grandes chances de acontecerem juntos. E aqui é só um resuminho rápido, se precisa voltar depois. Então, eu venho para os meus resultados. Primeiro, eu vou mostrar os resultados dos parâmetros físicos do Zonotrichia capensis. A gente achou uma diferença significativa na delta frequency, que é a variação de frequência, na frequência máxima e na duração do tempo dos cantos. E o último quadro era só para verificar se teve realmente uma diferença no ruído entre os dois grupos. No multidimensional scaling, ele foi baseado na frequência e nos parâmetros temporais, e os dados eles foram diferentes o suficiente para eles se separarem nos dois grupos. Então, aqui a gente teria o do ambiente urbano e aqui o do ambiente conservado. E quando a gente fez a correlação com o ruído, nenhum dos parâmetros teve uma correlação forte com o ruído. Referente aos resultados para o Sabiá sobre os parâmetros físicos, comparando os dois grupos, a gente teve uma diferença significativa tanto para a frequência mínima quanto para a frequência máxima, e de novo a comparação dos ruídos. No multidimensional scaling, a gente também teve uma divisão entre os dois grupos, com exceção de um ponto. E, por fim, a gente achou uma forte correlação, tanto para a frequência mínima quanto para a frequência máxima, com o ruído. Agora, sobre os resultados de complexidade, a gente primeiro comparou o tamanho do repertório e a entropia informacional, e nenhuma delas teve diferença entre os dois grupos. Em relação ao ritmo, ele vai significar o número de notas por segundo e ele teve uma tendência a ser maior no ambiente urbano, mas os dois grupos eles não tiveram alterações no número de notas por frase e nem na duração média da frase. Em relação à cadeia de Markov, a gente achou que o ambiente conservado tinha uma maior quantidade de transições com uma grande probabilidade de acontecer, que são as probabilidades iguais ou maiores a 50%. E em relação aos parâmetros de rede, o ambiente urbano ele teve uma média maior no average degree e no cluster coefficient. Quando a gente estava observando as transições, a gente teve a sensação de que o ambiente urbano tinha uma maior ocorrência da repetição de mesmas notas, então sequências de A's, sequências de B's, e por essa razão foi decidido filtrar esse tipo de transição e comparar de novo os parâmetros. E quando a gente fez isso, não existia mais diferença no average degree e tinha uma diferença maior ainda no cluster coefficient. Então, para discutir um pouco sobre esses resultados que a gente achou, o tico-tico não teve variação na frequência mínima, mas essa variação foi presente no sabiá. E uma das causas pode ser que a frequência mínima faz parte do código de comunicação do Zonotrichia capensis. Para a frequência máxima, tanto as duas espécies tiveram variação. E uma explicação pode ser porque no ambiente urbano a gente tem a maior ocorrência de atenuações e reverberações, e a frequência máxima ela é capaz de diminuir um pouco desses efeitos, mas também pode estar relacionado com outros fatores, como a densidade de território. Para a correlação com o ruído, o sabiá ele mostrou uma forte correlação para a frequência mínima e para a frequência máxima, mas o tico-tico não demonstrou. E outros fatores podem estar relacionados com isso, como a época e fatores sociais. Mas também pode ser porque o Zonotrichia capensis ele vai ter uma maior frequência máxima e ele vai ter uma maior banda de frequência em ambientes que são mais fechados e diversos, tipo o ambiente urbano. E então, para as análises de complexidade, uma dos achados foi que o grupo urbano ele pode ter mais notas podendo iniciar as frases, e essa conclusão vem de que a cadeia de Markov ela mostrou que o ambiente conservado ele pode ter sequências que são mais previsíveis. Ao mesmo tempo, quando a gente olha para a entropia informacional, a aleatoriedade da emissão dessas notas foi a mesma. Então, a gente não tinha, numa média, notas que estivessem aparecendo em taxas muito diferentes. Então, se a gente tem uma diferença na sequência, mas não tem uma diferença na emissão delas, pode ser que no ambiente urbano, essas notas elas estariam iniciando as frases, então elas não estariam sendo contadas na transição, e aí ela teve essa diferença. Analisando também a entropia informacional e a cadeia de Markov, o ambiente urbano ele mostrou que ele tem uma maior um conjunto mais variáveis de sequências. Então, o ambiente conservado ele teve essas sequências que pareciam mais previsíveis do que o ambiente urbano. Então, o ambiente urbano ele estaria se conectando mais, que é um dos dados da análise de rede, e ele teria sequências mais variadas. Mas isso também pode estar relacionado com a densidade populacional. Como eu falei, o ambiente urbano ele mostrou essas sequências variadas também no average degree, porque cada nota tinha uma maior possibilidade de notas para se conectar, mas isso também estava relacionado com o fato de que o ambiente urbano ele mostrou o maior número de notas possíveis que poderiam estar se repetindo antes de mudar de nota, que são as sequências de A's, as sequências de B's. Então, quando a gente pegava e analisava as conexões dela na análise de redes, ele era mais conectado, considerando essas repetições da mesma nota, e quando a gente tirava elas, essa diferença dava uma diminuída, ela não era mais significativa. Analisando o ritmo, o ambiente urbano pode estar repetindo sons que são mais rápidos, então, como eu falei, o número de notas por frase e a duração delas não estava variando, mas ele estava tendendo a cantar em um ritmo mais rápido. E como o ritmo está relacionado com a duração da nota e com o intervalo de nota, essas são as duas possibilidades. Mas considerando que ele estava repetindo mais vezes uma mesma nota, pode ser que tem alguns estudos que mostram que aves que cantam mais rápidos tendem a produzir mais vezes o mesmo som antes de estar mudando. E, por fim, quase terminando, cada grupo pode estar repetindo algum conjunto específico de notas. Então, teve um estudo por Turdus filomelos que ele mostrou que essa espécie ela tendia a aumentar os tweeters, que são esses tipos de som, e eles tendiam a diminuir os assobios em referente ao ambiente urbano ou ambiente conservado. E isso tem relação com o tipo de propagação do som, com a propagação que o som pode ter em cada ambiente, então faria sentido que eles estivessem repetindo notas diferentes em cada ambiente. Uma última coisa é que os trills, que são aquelas recaídas, elas podem acontecer numa taxa menor nos ambientes urbanos, exatamente pela reverberação, que a gente vai ter essa flutuação entre um agudo e um grave, numa grande faixa de frequência, e ele pode ser distorcido no ambiente urbano. Então, para sumarizar tudo isso, a gente teve que o Zonotrichia capensis, ele mostrou uma variação que foi vista na duração da frase, na faixa de frequência e na frequência máxima entre os indivíduos do ambiente conservado e ambiente urbano, mas que esses parâmetros não estavam fortemente relacionados com o ruído. Já o Turdus rufiventris, ele mostrou uma variação na frequência mínima e na frequência máxima, e esses parâmetros estavam fortemente relacionados com o ruído, e o ruído é mais alto no ambiente urbano. Além disso, o Turdus rufiventris também mostrou no ambiente urbano que ele tinha uma maior repetição dessas sequências de mesmas notas, e ele tinha um maior set de sequências variáveis. Então, é isso. Obrigada a todo mundo por estar aqui ouvindo, e obrigado especialmente para todo mundo que estava me ajudando esse tempo todo. Vou colocar agora todo mundo de volta.
Obrigada. Muito bem. Eu acho que nós podemos já passar para a arguição, né? E aí vamos... Eu não sei qual que seria o membro mais externo. As
Malu,
duas...
só uma coisa, o Okanoya acabou de mandar mensagem falando que esqueceu, mas que ele quer entrar. Como que faz?
É só ele entrar no link, né? Que foi dado pelo e-mail.
Ele mandou e-mail para todo mundo. Vocês devem ter recebido também. Ele aí.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you. I'm terribly sorry. I was very late and I missed most of your presentation. What can I do now?
It's okay. You haven't seen the presentation, but you read.
Yeah.
You read the text. Maybe you can say something about the reading.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But
so,
thank you for the effort. It's so late in Japan.
No, I'm very sorry. But if you can start discussion, and I will think about the question now. Is that okay?
start with the questions.
Yeah. Well, how this should go? I was like, I was just listening 10 minutes, but it's only Brazilian, so I mean, so couldn't understand anything. But
sorry
right?
about that. I can imagine.
No,
We
sorry.
could present in English.
I am very sorry that I somehow I thought it's tomorrow. I
tried to call you, but it doesn't work.
Oh, sorry. I'm really sorry, but so now what I haven't.
Would you like to see the slides, maybe?
What?
Because the slides is in English. Maybe you can see. It's easier to send the presentation for you.
Well, I have of course your presentation, and I know that I've been hearing your talk several times, and this frequency and adjustment according to noise level in urban area is what you're doing, right? And basically, I think I made already in earlier some comments, and I think you have already answered to those comments that conserved and urban areas to analyze changes in physical parameters, right? That you did some complexity, and you found it. Variations were not strongly related to noise level, right? And but in I can't believe this, in Turdus
rufiventris
changes. In minimum and maximum that were related to noise intensity. That is, I think it's a great finding. Yeah, right. And song of Turdus whatever.
Maybe we can't call them trash. The Rufus Benetrash.
And higher in urban environment have a higher repetition of same note sequence, right? So I think these findings are good enough to be considered as master's work, I think. I'm very sorry I'm very late. Yeah.
Okay.
In Brazil, you say it happens in the best families.
I'm sorry, but I just remembered I just came back to the school. So what can I do? I can so your presentation is because I was not there. You all did in Portuguese. You did already. Oh.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat?
Can you? Yeah.
Just a moment. Can you allow the Renata to come back to the room, Verônica?
Okay.
Oh,
okay. Oh, Renata is...
Sorry, okay. Renata. I didn't know that.
Konnichiwa, Kazuo.
Konnichiwa, Renata. It's been like 4 months since I saw you last. Seems like a long time. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I miss Japan very much.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, I miss you very much too. Yeah. And you and your daughter, right? And karaoke, right? So, what can I do? I was late for this was already examination, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And I basically understood what you did, and I think it's great, and I think it's okay. Yeah.
Maybe Malu could start the questions and
pointing
every person, parting the order.
Yeah. I have not organized my questions. I just understood what you did. So if I can have some time, or if I can later send you some questions, it will be more. It will be better. Is it okay or it's not okay? What do you think?
Or maybe Marina can talk first, and you think about your questions,
Okay.
and you say after. That's
Yeah,
okay
yeah,
for you?
okay. Yeah. Marina can go, and I will think about question while you are
And
talking
after
about.
you, Renata can participate. Okay?
Yes.
This order.
Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay. Then, while I listen to your questions, I will organize my question.
Okay.
Okay.
So Marina can go ahead. Thank you, Marina.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you very much for the invitation. I'm happy to stay here and see you again. I was in Japan as well with Renata. I don't know if you remember me, Okanoya.
Oh,
Uh,
good.
yeah, I was in
Sure.
Japan last
Hi,
October,
hi.
and it was really nice to see you
Right.
all. And the Congress was amazing.
Great.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
organizing it.
Thank you. Well, yeah, it was a very, very fun day. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I wish you guys are all there.
Yeah,
Malu and
especially the
Veronica too.
karaoke.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Sorry, but I intend to go to Japan
Yeah,
as soon as I can have money.
No. Well, after that, Daniel Takahashi, you know Daniel Takahashi?
Mm,
Maybe he's Hinata's colleague, right?
probably.
Daniel Takahashi came to visit me
Mm.
last month. Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Oh,
So I'm gonna start with a few questions, Veronica. Thank you for your presentation. It was really nice. Um, I have just a few comments because I don't know if you know, but I did some works with Zonotrichia capensis some years ago
Yeah.
about the effects of noise pollution on their vocalizations. And what we found was that during events of noise pollution, for example, when a truck is passing in front of a road, they stop to vocalize. So they seem to be very sensible to the noise pollution. Because I was working in a mining area, in an area where was passing like 700 trucks a day, and every time that a truck passed, they stopped to vocalize. So I think that you choose a good species for to be a model to analyze the effects of noise pollution. um, and let me take some comments. When you say physical parameters, I would suggest you to change it for spectral parameters instead physical parameters, because physical parameters can be many things, like can be the physical parameters of an environment, not only on about the. I understood what you said, but sometimes in the test you say physical parameters, but you don't say that you are analyzing the physical parameters of the vocalizations. You just say physical parameters, and physical parameters can be light, can be noise, can be many things,
Temperature.
not only about vocalization. And I put it in some parts. I highlighted it for you in some part of the test, and I can send you after. And I would like, if it's possible, could you please clarify what you consider as ritmo,
is the number of notes per phrase, and we measure by measuring the note intervals
Number
plus
of
the
notes
notes
per second.
notes per second. Yeah. And was measured by the note interval plus the note duration divided by 1,000.
Okay. And let me just check here. I suppose that you will write a paper to submit about your dissertation. So I don't know what are the protocols of USP, but I don't know if it is necessary to keep the pictures in the introduction session.
Yeah, I
Because
think for an article, I will have to reduce a lot of the text.
yes, because I know that you created the pictures, and it was really nice for us to understand. But in a paper, you cannot
Yeah,
use
I know.
pictures in an introduction section. So yeah, and okay, let's go to your aims. You said that your study aims to evaluate human noise influences into species of birds, but you did not measure noise pollution. Did you use any kind of device just to measure noise levels?
Yeah, I measure it, and the box plot was from the measures that I made. I measured immediately before and immediately after recording the bird.
Okay, I'm sorry if I missed the information, but where did you write this information?
I think that in the first paragraph of the methodology.
I'm sorry, I think I missed this information. What kind of device did you use for it?
I used an app, cell phone app, to measure it.
Sorry, fine.
I will take the page. Yes, and
You
in the
said that
top
you
key, in the top key 3.2 field sampling, I said we also use the decibelimeter
field
to measure.
sampling. Okay. Sorry, I missed this information. Okay, used the decibelimeter, but it did not record the frequency, only the decibels, right?
Yes.
So you have an idea of how noisy is each area, basically looking at the decibels. How did you treat this data? Did you use A curve or Z curve? What kind of curve of noise did you use? Because when we are exploring, when we are analyzing the effects of noise pollution on humans, we use the A curve. But when we are trying to understand the effects on birds, they have a different, that they can listen to different frequencies. So we usually use Z curve. What did you use?
I think I used the A curve instead of the Z curve, but I have to check it.
Yes, because we usually use the A curve when we are studying humans and primates, because they have a similar hearing range. So when we are studying birds or frogs or insects or other animals that vocalize and listen to different frequencies, it's good to use a linear curve instead the A curve for noise pollution, because the A curve was designed for humans. So I don't know if you can transform. I'm so sorry to say it, because Ahifiri can, when you submit the paper, they will probably question something about it. So, but I think that you could transform. I don't know if it's possible to transform the data. If you have, what kind of data do you have? Do you have one level by second?
No, I have punctual measurements. I recorded the noise for some minutes, and I have the average noise, the minimum, and the maximum noise. And I recorded before recording the bird and after recording the bird for each area, and that's all.
What was the interval, the duration of the noise measurements?
Was 2 minutes, I think.
Just 2
before
minutes. So yeah, usually they record the decibelimeter or the equipment will create one value by second. If you have this data in a spreadsheet, maybe you could transform your data from A curve to Z curve.
I think I don't have, because it was I didn't have a decibelimeter, a professional decibelimeter. It was really cell phone app that I use it.
Yeah, but so yeah, because
But in birds, they supposed to hear just like a human beings. Frogs, I agree, is completely different, but birds, it's very similar.
yeah,
Or maybe Okanoya
I
can,
would.
can say something about that too, because his supervisor work with that.
Well, actually, I work with that too. Yes.
Are you
Okay.
too,
Yeah.
exactly?
Yeah. The problem of the noise meter weighting function is that what you are discussing, I guess, right? Yeah.
Yes.
A scale actually cut higher but and lower but a little bit, so
Yes.
that environmental noise does not affect too much. Okay, and avian hearing, bird hearing is much narrower than human auditory curve. Okay,
Mhm.
suppose humans will listen from 20 hertz to like up to 15 or 20 kilohertz, right? And birds are listened from like 250 hertz and up to 8 or 10 kilohertz. That's,
Good.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's normal hearing range of
Mhm.
birds. And I have measured like 20 species or so, and I see this Zonotrichia species and what was the other one, Turdus species. Zonotrichia and Turdus, I think they are basically typical, they should have a typical avian hearing. Therefore, flat scale is rather a problem. We were also using A scale in
Mhm.
doing bird song experiment. So although well, A curve is specifically made for human auditory range,
Yes.
because bird hearing is within human auditory range, A curve is okay. It's not the best. It's best to make a own curve to do the fitting. However, A curve, we were using actually A curve in this kind of experiment. So I suppose it has only a few problems. It's okay. I mean, it's acceptable to use a curve. What do you think?
Yeah, I would suggest to write this argument in the paper when you submit it. Because some researchers can say that you used a curve, a weight, related to human, and also to put the information about the auditory system of the two species.
Yeah, I think you should. You probably, I don't know whether Zonotrichia and Turdus. Okay, I have a review paper that has median auditory curve of many species. Okay, and if you can cite it, you can pretty much cover those Zonotrichia and Turdus species, I think. And in addition to that, you should I couldn't find, but you should write a specification of sound level meter you used. Okay, and usually sound level meter. Can I find sound level meter information in your thesis somewhere? Is it stated in somewhere, Veronica?
I think I have the data, but I think I didn't put the table of the noise on the dissertation.
Okay. You should also put a specification of sound level meter. Okay, and if it is using A scale, and A scale is okay because it's being used in animal recording, except for very special case like rats or like bats. Those guys have very, very high hearing range, so A scale doesn't do it, right? Because it's outside of A scale. But hearing is because it's inside of A scale, I think it's okay, it's acceptable. But you have to be very specific. You have to state that information in the thesis.
Yes.
Is it
Could
okay?
you send your paper for me, please?
Yeah, I can send you the paper. Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
I will send the paper. And Marina, is this okay if she does it?
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Yes, I think it's okay. Yeah, I was not aware of the hearing, the auditory system of the two birds, but I think it's important to state it in the test and in the paper before to submit, because someone can question.
If I may, Okanoya said about the table, the decibelimeter. You said that I should put the noise levels or describe better the decibelimeter.
Both. You should put the number, of the noise levels in each area that you studied, and to give more details about the decibelimeter. To be honest, a more specialized name for this kind of device, I would put a noise level meter instead of decibelimeter. Whereas the acoustic engineers, they don't use decibelimeter, they use noise level meter. Would be a better name for this kind of equipment. Okay?
Okay.
And I would advise you to put some hypotheses. What did you think before to start your study? What was you were you expecting before to start your data collect?
I expected the increase in the minimum frequency and
Why?
a lower. Because first of all, before I started studying, was sometimes I was discussing with Malu and she said some things about that. But when I started reading some papers, they usually shows increasing the minimum frequency
to avoid
to avoid the noise effect. Yeah.
Noise effect. Okay, so I think it's important to state, to put it in the paper, your hypothesis and your expectations, your predictions,
I think
just
I
to
put
see
in
if you found what you expected to find or not.
I think I put in the last paragraph of the introduction, and
Yes, but you put also the objectives. Just choose one, the hypothesis and predictions or objectives. Because you put one main objective and another specific objectives. So when you when you start to write the paper, it would be nice to change it for hypothesis and predictions and put it at the end of the introduction session. It is just a suggestion. It's not something that will change a lot your work. And yes, about the how you classified your study areas. I am starting some new projects comparing rural, natural, and urban areas. And some of my projects, we are collaborating with people that work on landscape ecology. And I think there is a formal classification a formal way to classify this kind of environment. So we are using rural, natural, and urban. So, but the problem here is that you chose urban parks, which are natural, but in a urban area. So I would change conserved areas by maybe natural areas.
Okay.
Just to use the formal way to classify the difference between this kind of landscapes, because I can send you later, because there is a formal way to, in landscape ecology, they classify areas according to the level of urbanization. So maybe
there are some papers that you said that you could at least send me one or two that I could read.
yes. If you could just summarize your results, what would you say about your main results? What did you find in your dissertation?
I think I would put what I put in the conclusions, that are the difference on the physical parameters for Zonotrichia capensis, but isn't clear if it is related to noise, because parameters weren't strongly related to noise. But for Turdus rufiventris, it has a strong correlation and results in the chains of complexity. So I would put that Zonotrichia capensis has some not so clear results about the noise, but Turdus rufiventris has, and which parameters change it.
Yes, it's hard to say that the noise pollution is affecting the difference, is the main factor that is affecting the change on spectral parameters of vocalization, isn't it? Because there are many
Just a
other.
moment, Marina, sorry. Okay. Renata gets, oh, okay. She had a problem. Sorry, Marina, for interrupt you.
No problem. It's
You
okay.
can go on.
Yes. Verônica, I think that would be nice to discuss the other factors, other difference in the environment that could be affecting the vocalizations as well. So not only the noise pollution. I read that you said that it can be not related to noise pollution, but to the behavior, to social thing. Yes, but I would put also something related to the difference between the environments that you choose, the physical
Yeah,
characteristics of the environment.
I put some phrases that like the entropy could be related with the epithet structure, like with attenuation and reverberation. Uh, but yeah, I think it
Yeah, but
would
something.
be
Yeah, in a broader perspective, for example, your study area is much more than me. So, what are the other difference between the areas that could be interfering in your results?
maybe tree densities and vegetation. I think is would be really an impact because it didn't even if it was inside an urban park, it didn't have so much trees like in Parque Nacional da Cantareira. It has much less trees, and the urban environment has more constructions and more materials that could reverberate the sound. So I think that would be the main focus.
Yeah, so I would suggest you to include it just to say that you did not control other physical parameters of each area. You only controlled noise pollution. You only measured noise pollution, but there are another factors that could affect the difference between vocalization, not only the behavior of the species, the social uh, more aspects that are related to the physical environment and that you didn't measure.
But you think I should emphasize that?
Yeah,
Because
you could
I see it
suggest.
along the text.
Yeah, you could say there is a difference between noise in noise levels between the areas among the areas, but we cannot say that noise pollution is affecting. We know that there is a
Okay.
difference in noise levels and the vocalizations are different as well, but
I
we
say
didn't control um, humidity, the density of trees. We didn't control light pollution. We didn't control many of the wind. We didn't control it. So just to explore more, that you the only parameter that you controlled was noise pollution, and justify why you choose to use the A curve instead the linear curve.
mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So these are my main questions about your work. I think that you did a great job with lots of statistical analysis and yeah, the work is absolutely good, and yeah, and I'm here to discuss the other questions with the other members of the committee.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marina. It's really useful. So let's see if Okanoya is ready to talk. It's okay, Okanoya?
Or maybe Renata.
It's the microphone is off. You have to turn on the microphone, please. It's okay.
We can't hear you. Yeah.
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. So the two species, and Zonotrichia and Turdus, and Turdus species, you have urban population and conserved population, right?
Mhm.
That's correct. And you were saying that urban population repetition is increasing, and when you say repetition
Of the same
is
notes.
repetition. Let me see again. Okay. Turdus species, the maximum and minimum frequencies are different in urban and conserved populations, right? And in urban populations, the repetition of the same notes are increasing, but is it you're saying that the variation of song notes also increased in urban population? Is that what you say, or am I?
Yeah, they have a variable sequence set. Each node could be connected to more nodes than the conserved environment. Like the urban environment, after making a sound, it has more possible nodes than the conserved environment. In the conserved, they have more stable sequences.
What is a mechanism that makes that? Why is it so? You don't know, but you can guess or you can hypothesize.
I really don't, because I was expecting the opposite. I should expect that in the urban environment it would be more stable with shorter sequences. Wasn't that?
I think what we miss here is the meaning of the sequence, the syntax. What's the meaning for the bird? That's the reason we think about more about sexual selection or populations factors than other details of the humidity or other physical parameters or abiotic parameters. Think more about the relationship. All this species is very gregarious, and so we have to see the meaning of the sequence.
Well, what I can guess is in urban environment, because of the noise level, it is important to convey information by making repetitions, and also by making because the noise, urban noise, is somewhat limiting the range of bird song variation, that repeated song notes are required to be variable within certain narrow range. Could that be the reason that you get that result, or am I misunderstanding? I'm not sure.
I agree with that in the terms that I put at the final that they study with Turdus that says some types of notes would be increasing than others, but I believe that the repetition of the same note could be related with that, but I'm not sure if the variation on the sequences could be related because would be the opposite.
Okay. If you supplement that kind of discussion in your thesis, that will be good. Can you do that, I guess? Yeah.
Could you repeat, please? I didn't understand. Could you repeat just the last phrase, please?
Well, the reason why in the urban environment, the number of repetition and variation increases. Please supply your hypothesis.
Could I put my slides for a moment? I'll just show. I will put my slides for a moment just to show the image.
Yeah.
Here, and I think it's about that. And there are some types of sounds that could be more easily propagated in the urban environment than others, like this. So in this case, the Twitter syllables could be better to propagate in the urban environment than the crystals. And maybe that's because the Turdus is repeating some types of notes than others. I believed in that. Would be an interesting study.
Okay. Yeah. Good. So next issue is this multi-dimensional scaling plot that you are using in figure 6, was it? Which one was it? Oh, yeah, this figure 7 and figure...
For Zonotrichia?
Figure 5. MDS plot for physical parameter from Zonotrichia. Yes. This MDS plot does not give me too much of information, because this figure 5 is right. It's the second dimension doesn't explain too much, right? The first dimension is clearly separated by conserved and urban environment. And second dimension, what do you think second dimension is?
The Zonotrichia had differences on high frequency, bandwidth, and higher the maximum frequency, the bandwidth frequency, and the delta time. I think here maybe the most different was the delta frequency, that is the bandwidth, and the maximum frequency. So I think that they should be the two dimensions that are interfering.
Yeah, because this is a multi-dimensional scaling. Each dimension is not simply representation of a particular parameters, but some sort of what do you say? Composed variable, right? So what do you think the first dimension is composed of and the second dimension is composed of?
I think that is the frequency bandwidth and the song duration.
Yeah, right. So, I'm sorry if I missed, but is it clearly stated in the thesis?
No.
No. Yeah, please do so. Okay.
Okay.
And similarly, the Turdus multi-dimensional scaling plot, figure 7. Can you show figure 7 here?
For the Turdus?
Not this one. Turdus species. Not that. Oh yeah. You're right. Right. So this one, you are putting this sort of line that separates urban and conserved environment, and you are mostly you, except for the one point from conserved population, it's separated, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if this is simple parameters, if first dimension and second dimensions are simple parameters, making this kind of discriminant function is okay. But this is a compositional parameter, I mean dimension, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, here you should be clear what do you think is first dimension is made up of, and what is the second dimension is made up. And I think you know already, so could you tell it now? What is first
The
dimension?
minimum and maximum frequency.
Right, and second dimension?
I don't know which one would be each, but the one would be the minimum frequency and another the maximum frequency.
Uh-huh. So
both meaning both parameters. They choose 2 axes for all parameters, isn't it, Verônica? You have to show how the graphic was built with the mix of the parameters, and they separate with the maximum frequency and temporal parameters, isn't it?
Yeah.
The calculation creates 2x, the y and x for all parameters that have the significant difference.
I think I have to remember, but I think I used the complex measures like the average degree also to separate the groups. The network parameters, I think, is inside this multidimensional scaling too. But I have to look at my data to be sure.
Verônica, aproveita e habilita o microfone da Renata. Ela queria falar e eu tentei falar com o Tomás, ele não aparece.
Ela que precisa ativar o próprio som. Ela talvez pode ver nas configurações do microfone, eu não consigo ativar.
Ela habilitou o microfone e diz que a gente não está escutando ela. Eu não sei qual que é o problema. Ela achou que você silenciou ela.
Não.
Well, I don't understand what was being discussed. However, will be nice if you can interpret each dimensions to explain what these dimensions are representing. This doesn't need to be exact. This needs to be only discussion, you know.
Okay. You don't think I should have a principal component analysis to find the dimensions, just to think about it?
Yeah,
including the discussion. Okay.
Right. Okay. And about I found it that you are using this decibel meter. This is an application for the smartphone, right?
Yeah.
And is it possible for you to show the spectrogram, not spectrogram, the frequency and intensity graph of each environment?
No, it didn't have a measure for the frequency. The only measure I could take is inside the sonogram.
Okay. So you are showing that decibels for conserved and urban environment in something like in figure like which figure this is? Figure 6 has conserved an urban environment and average noise level in dB, and the Marina was also discussing about this point, and when you use this decibel meter application, the setting was A or C. I think it was A for sure, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you A scale is like this. It will suppress a very low noise and it will suppress a very high noise. And as I mentioned earlier, because avian hearing is completely within the A scale, the use of A scale is okay, right? And if possible, you can find the A scale curve in some literature, I'm sure, and you should cite this A scale graph, and you can put the paper I'm sending the medium hearing range, of course. Then it's okay about this problem. Okay. Yeah. And yeah, I mentioned about MDS interpretation and how do you interpret between the changes in urban environment in Turdus species and treatment of noise function. And that's about it from my comments. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we will see the details of the graphs and explain more to be clear. And thank you for your comments, Okanoya. Renata, can you hear us? Okay.
I can't hear you now.
O som não está saindo, Renata.
I don't know what's happening.
Enable me.
Agora.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, Verônica needed to enable me. I'm sorry that.
Sorry.
I haven't been able to hear all the comments because there was an issue with the audio. So first, I would like to thank you, Verônica, and you, Malu, for inviting me to participate. Also to say hello to my colleagues, Marina Duarte and Kazuo Okanoya. It's a pleasure to be here with you in such excellent company. There is a very strong noise coming from some. Oh, now no more. Anyway, so I apologize if I will repeat some of the comments of my colleagues because at some points I wasn't hearing what they were saying. But there were two moments that I wanted to make an intervention because it was the same sort of issue. So I wouldn't have to repeat it again. But The first is to the weighting of the sound pressure meter. I think I agree with Kaz when he says that the important thing for the hearing of the birds was to be within their range. That's fine. I agree with that. What I'm afraid is that you actually measured noise. And when you measure noise using a 8-weighted function, you attenuate the lower and the highest parts of the noise spectrum. Noise has no hearing range. So the proper way to measure noise on its own is a linear weighting. It's no weighting at all. It's just to have the entire spectrum represented. If you're just studying, for example, the distribution of noise in an area, you shouldn't use any weighting, right? But because you're addressing bird hearing and bird response to noise, I think it's okay to use the A weighting. But please be careful that when you correlate measures that go beyond and above the hearing range of that function, you're actually changing the values of the noise measurements. So you're actually attenuating. It's like you have a bandpass filter. So you have to be careful with that and make sure that you explain that. And now that you have, a very good paper to cite with the hearing functions of the birds, you can do that. But when you correlate something in the environment with the noise from that environment, not necessarily bird response, which is biased on their hearing, but anything else, like what Marina said, humidity, characteristics of the vegetation, distance to the nearest urban area, whatever, you need to include the entire spectrum. Is that clear? Did you understand the difference?
Yeah, I understood.
Yeah,
I think
I
part
suppose
of
my
the
colleague.
limitation is because I didn't have like a professional decibelimiter. I just have the app. So that was part of the decision to use the A curve.
Oh, that's fine. You just, in a paper, sometimes we don't have the best method, but we need to make sure the readers know the limitations of our inference. That's the only thing that gives quality to the papers, to be clear.
Okay.
So the reader can judge how far that evidence goes, right? That's very important. So, and the other point that Kaz made that I thought was very important, and is that in your results figures, when you present the MDS results, you don't name your axes. That's the major. You can't present a figure without the name of the axis. So, and then it's like, okay, what are these points spread in this figure? So you need to be careful, because your document, even though it's not a publication yet, it will be referenced and looked, people will read it, because your dissertation will be public at some point, right? I think the embargo period in Brazil is 5 years tops, right? So after 5 years, people are actually going to have access to your document, and that needs to be, clear enough that people can use it and understand it. So please put the axes and explain. In your results, you need also to make sure that you understand what you're doing with a multivariate analyses. Usually, when you reduce the dimensionality of a data set, you have weights for each axis. So, like Kaz asked, and I don't think you understand fully what the analysis was, but it's your job to make sure that you do, because then you're more you can discuss it better, right, and make inferences based on something that you usually you have one or more variables that have higher loadings in each of the axes. So for example, maybe Kaz wants to talk, so can you enable his microphone? Yes, Kaz.
Yes, actually, Renata can continue, but I would like to also point out in private chat, I sent you 3 papers.
Mhm.
Okay, the first is actually a book by Dick Fay. Do you know Dick Fay, the fish auditory scientist? And this is a quite old book, and it's probably impossible to get. Therefore, I will send you the
Oops.
copy of the proper
Mhm.
pages of this book. This book contains all kinds of auditory sensitivity data. So this is great to have one, okay? And in this book, there is a page that describes auditory range of many, many species of birds. Using that, you can show that all the auditory range of those passerines are basically within the A scale range. Okay, so the problem is not serious, but treatment, the correct and what do you say, actual, what do you say, the very accurate treatment is as another says. Okay, you have to consider the auditory range of the bird, that species, and take that non-audible range out of noise measurement, right? That is the best thing. But people usually don't do that. It's too much work. So people usually use
Mhm.
A scale as a not accurate but acceptable approximation to auditory range of words. That's what people do, and you should be aware that you are doing that. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And
Because I
that's the first reference I send you. The second reference, this is also, this reference contains all the measures I made from many species of birds. But actually, the second reference is all cited in the first reference, right? So if you can, I'm sure you have access to Journal of Comparative Psychology. If you can find out the paper, you can read it. Otherwise, I can send you. And also, the third reference I sent you is about MDS and actual parameters. Okay, in this paper, what we are doing is like in your MDS plot, each data point has specific set of parameters, right? So what you can do is make a correlation between each parameter and MDS axis 1 and axis 2. Then you can tell uh, what what is the most influential parameter for axis 1 and second most influential parameter for axis 1 and so on. That's what we are doing in this paper, in the third paper, Okanoya and Kimura 93, already
Okay.
30 years old, okay? And you should read it, and you should try to do something like that, but not, I don't, I don't request you to do that exactly, but it's a lot of work. But you can guess what is dimension 1 and dimension 2, the meaning of those dimensions. Yeah, as another said, you cannot label dimension 1 and dimension 2 in multi-dimension scaling. That's true. You should not label. However, you can guess the weighting. What is the parameter have most weighting on dimension 1 or dimension 2? That you can do.
But
Okay.
maybe it has this data.
Yeah.
It has the spreadsheet with this information, isn't it, Verônica? Maybe it's,
You can
you
try.
didn't put maybe, but you have this.
Yeah, you can
Okay.
try that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, you don't need to name the dimensions, but you must have dimension 1, dimension 2 in your
Yeah.
act,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
because when you reference what variables are most important for each axis, people know which axis you're talking about. Right?
Yeah.
But to produce this graph, you must calculate which parameter is more important in each scale. So
You
have this data.
You might have it in your output of your analysis. You might have that. You have to check. I don't know how you ran it, if it was in R or any other.
Was in R.
So sometimes the software package spits it out for you. Sometimes you
Yeah, right.
have to ask.
You know, when I did that paper, I calculated everything by myself, right? So, yeah, I know it's easier time for
With
students.
a pencil.
Right. However, it's also dangerous point because the package does all the calculation. You can put graph without knowing what's going on. That's very big problem. So you should try to understand what's going on. Okay.
Thank you very much. May I continue? So, giving those parentheses closed, I would like to say that I loved your presentation. I thought it was very well put together. I thought it was very didactic. It was very clear that you understood the concepts. Some of the let me say that liberty of interpretations that you took to explain sounds are acceptable. I would explain it in a slightly different way, but I think it's acceptable because it makes it easier to understand. But your text wasn't as clear as your presentation was. Your oral presentation was, and I think you need to make sure that you correct those things in the document, because that will be actually your contribution, right? Not nowadays, because now you have that in YouTube, so people can actually watch a presentation on YouTube. But it's nice if you have your document corrected as much as possible. So, so in the abstract, you put. I think you should try to have another round of English grammar revision, because sometimes the grammar is not correct, or it's a bit confusing. So I think you could benefit from another round of grammar complexity, because in the abstract, for example, when you start for the physical parameters, blah 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 blah, and then you go on to the complexity parameters, and it's not, for me, it wasn't clear if you were talking about both species or just one species. As I went down to your text and read the rest, I realized that the complexity measurements were going to be extracted just from the sabia, and then the other one from both species, right? So just make sure that you write that in a clearer way, because it's not clear as it is right now. Let me see. When you cite noise, the definition of noise, what I noticed, and sometimes in other places in your text as well, but that your definitions cite papers that are extremely new. So for the definition of noise, you cite 2013, 2021 papers, and then following that, then you cite Weaver, 1949, which is a much original citation for noise definition and characteristics. And I also would like to point out that when you talk about the Lombard effect, right? People all over the world, this is not your particular it's not a fact that it's only you that did that, but a lot of people consider Lombard effect as only the increase in amplitude as a compensation for noise. And you do not cite Lombard. So did you actually read Lombard? You cite people that cite him. And when people cite an author, you're actually reading an interpretation, a filter, like we're talking about communications, right? So that person's sensibility as they read the paper is in the text that they're citing, right? So I urge you and everybody that's listening to us here in YouTube to read the originals, because when you read the Lombard paper, you actually realize that he was not only talking about amplitude compensation. Anything that an animal does that will increase the signal to noise ratio as a function of the increase in noise, he considers a compensation effect. So all the frequency shifts, all the timing shifts could also be considered Lombard effects. Okay, so and not everybody agree with me with this, because some people think it's only amplitude, but when I went back and read Lombard, because I haven't done that also, right? But when I finally did, I realized, oh yeah, I guess, he was talking about all these compensations, acoustic compensations to noise. So please go back to the original Lombard paper and see what you understand about it. Okay. And I guess, maybe you'll reach a different or the same conclusion as I did. So also the literature on Markov chains, I'm sure that you have to focus on birds, because there's already lots of literature on that. But the Markov chain complexity song inferences come also from marine mammals. So the songbirds of the sea, for example, humpback whales, beluga whales, they all have that same sort of singing structure that is nested and sometimes has different probabilities of order of the units. About your written document, when you cite in your specific goals, you also put like in two groups of places, and it's like, you already know what groups those are. It's a conserved and an urban. Why not use those words? Because it's much clearer for the person that's reading, because then the person will have to look, oh, what two groups is she talking about? And then they don't find, these
And in English, you have to be more repetitive. Yeah.
And direct, and more direct. English is a very objective language. That's why it renders such concise scientific texts, because it's objective, right? Not like Portuguese. We like when you translate from Portuguese to English, you probably lose, I don't know, 40% of the text, the side of the text, I would guess. Anyways, make sure that you are more informative with the text that you write and more concise. Also, when you say changes in the vocal output, right? So what changes? Make the predictions clear. What are you expecting? Why are you expecting those changes? Cite the literature. You didn't cite the work from Marina, I don't think, right? Our Zonotrichia paper, right, Marina? I don't know if you did or not, but maybe you didn't. But there was a result, and then you can cite that as why, explaining your prediction based on literature or based on theory, right? On some acoustic physics theory. And I think you actually, somebody else actually said that. When I finally got to hear, I think you were talking about that. You say that the Chico Chico doesn't change some parameters because it's part of the code. Okay, readers need more than that. They need to understand what you're talking about when you're saying code, right? So what is it that you think that explains the lack of change, right? This code is very theoretical and very general in communication theory and animal communication theory. So you need to be a little more, let's say, generous to the readers that might not have as much knowledge about animal communication as you. A lot of people from other um, disciplines will read your paper, might read your paper, and you have to make sure that they all understand it very well, right? Again, clarity is quality in a paper. So as the more you are generous with the explanations of the terms that you use, the better your paper will be, the more cited it will be, because people will read it and will understand it fully. You don't cite a paper that you didn't understand very well, do you? No, we don't cite a paper that we didn't understand. We cite papers that we fully understand, even if we don't agree with the emphasis, right? We cite that paper. So something also related to the use of terms in English. Related, it's different from correlated. So when you're actually talking about correlation, you have to say it's correlated with. To be related to is something else. It's an association, loose. It's not mathematical. Okay,
It's
so
the same in Portuguese.
yeah, exactly, because in Portuguese we have the same word, but in English they have different meanings. And
The same, exactly like in English. That there are different meanings, these two words.
yes, exactly. That's why.
Yes, exactly.
And now to the discussion part. I'm almost done. When you say that singing faster, right, the rhythm increased, is that correct? In the urban area of the Sabia, right? The Turdus, right? So redundancy, and I think Kaz also mentioned that, but I will reinforce it. redundancy is one of the ways to compensate for cluttering, masking, and when the receiver is far away. And you can find that in a textbook of the principles of animal communication. It's there, 1998, Vereenkamp and Bradbury and Vereenkamp, I guess, right? And Sandy and Jack's paper, book, excellent book. So you can also say that singing faster in noise, maybe they're trying to get the message across faster because some of it is getting masked. So you don't take your time to sing it proper, I guess. You sort of do your best to get your message across. And I think there is literature that back this up. I won't remember right now, but I think there is literature to back this up. And at some point you said, or you wrote, that the urban environment, it's closed, it's more closed than the conserved environments. I wish I could understand that. Can you explain that to me, Verônica?
There was a station that says the maximum frequency could be related with the closed and magic environment. And I took from a paper, I just don't remember which one, I take Slave Corn, that cited this, and maybe the urban environments, they could be more closed and magic and could be related with the increasing the maximum frequency.
Okay.
Renata, I'm not hearing you.
We are not hearing you.
No.
Maybe if you turn off your camera. Try now.
It's like cutting.
Right. Can you hear me now? Yeah. So it was Malu's noise in your where you are, Malu. So if you could just keep your mic like that, I think it gives it some interference. And I'll go back to that particular thing. So okay. So you were saying that you saw literature that said that urban environments are more closed, and that's why they saw the same changes as you did. But you didn't record the animals in the city. You recorded them in fragments of forest within the city. Is that correct?
Both, in fact. I recorded inside the parks and around the parks. So.
Okay, it's your mic that has the noise. When you opened it, I heard it again. But so okay, because there's a little bit of a difference, right? Because when you're recording in an urban fragment, I don't know how the range of hearing you have in your recorders. That's something else. It's a propagation issue. It might differ between those 2 points that you recorded. So maybe for part of your data that you recorded on the border of the fragments, you do have the same sort of effect as the people that you cite found. But within these fragments, you might not. So you have more variation. So your variance is larger, the variance in your measurement. So you should check that, and maybe it's another point to discuss to make your discussion a bit richer. Um, and going back to the function weighting, masking, and noise, Kaz, I know that you're the expert in birds, and I'm not even close to you in that knowledge, but I work with mammals, right? And for mammals, and I actually do this experiment in my classroom, and I get the same result always. Even though the band of the noise frequency, it's outside the band of the communication band, okay? You don't have to actually have overlap in frequency for the noise to mask the information in the signal. So what I do with my students, that I put them in headphones and I play a tone with no noise. And then I add noise right on top of the frequencies of the tones that they're hearing. Of course, they don't hear the tones very well because it's masked. But when I lower that noise band, they still get masked because there is a basilar membrane response in mammals. I'm not sure if that happens in birds, that it sort of contaminates the upper spectrum. I don't know exactly the physiology of it or why that is.
That's because the reception in the brain is like a code. So you don't need exact to mask. Maybe this can happen in similar way with the birds too, because
Yeah.
it's the reception and the and encoding in the brain. That's the reason, I think. But
Professor Okanoya wanted to talk.
You and Kaz are the experts, and I'll defer to you to
It
give
is a,
me an explanation. But I will give you the evidence in mammals that the the sensitivity the in the ear of mammals, um, the is not that the response is not linear to the amount of overlap in the noise band with the signal band, and that I think that is very interesting. And sometimes I think when we do this sort of study where you're measuring noise, it I almost feel, I don't dare do that because it would be too blunt, but I almost feel that we need to treat noise as a binary variable. There is noise, there is no noise, but that is not real because of distance and the amount of noise and how much noise is reaching the ear of the receiver. And also, Veronica, we almost in every student that I get to read the papers and the thesis, you don't discuss the actual sensitivity of the individuals that you measured, because there's variation in that too. There's variation within the same individual as it gets old. Like I had a very very um, high sensitivity to noise, to sound. Like I was completely outlier when I did my audiogram when I was your age, I guess. I could hear 22 kilohertz. That completely out of the range. I heard too well, I guess. But now I don't hear at 14. 14 is already gone for me because I'm getting older. And as we get older, we lose sensitivity in higher frequencies. So now I'll defer to Kaz, because now, Kaz, please enlighten me. I would like to learn with you what you think about that.
yes, I sent you in chat. Um, The phenomena you were mentioning is called as critical bandwidth. Okay, when you try to detect a signal, we humans get affected. Suppose signals here, the noise is around there. The 1/3 octave of noise will affect this signal in humans. Okay, in birds it is about 1/2, so it's a bit wider than humans. So noise level that is actually a little bit away from signal can affect the hearing also. That makes actually the approximation of A curve as approximation of effective hearing range of bird is, I think it's okay. I mean, because A curve is outside of the hearing range of bird, right? And if you are integrating A curve noise by A curve, you are effectively integrating some of the outside hearing range of birds. That could also affect hearing of birds. So that consideration, as this is called critical band, and actually my master's thesis was about this. Well, now you have to read a lot of my paper, but if you read it, it says it's basically about it's correlate with the center frequency of a signal, right? First, then about the half octave of the center's frequency will affect hearing. That's what I found. So very roughly, therefore, the A scale approximation as noise intensity is okay, I think. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
I
Thank you,
just
Pat.
would like to say that if you have a sound with a white sound that you say with the same frequency, just one frequency, and you change the amplitude, a person cannot distinguish if you change the amplitude or the frequency. So these effects and the reception in the brain is already affected. So you cannot say if the noise is disturb your audition in this frequency.
Okay.
So it's,
Yeah.
it's complicated when you put a mask
Mm.
and how the brain receives the sound.
Yeah. It is really complicated, and it is not possible for Veronica to discuss all the issues in her thesis. However, you can refer to the effect of noise in hearing just by citing some of my paper, the one I just sent you. Okay, and actually, as Mal said in chat, the phenomena is in the beginning it was considered that basilar membrane, basilar papilla in case of birds, and because it goes like this, signal goes like this, and the noise goes like this, and it's integrated somehow. But actual integration occurs in the level of inferior colliculus. Okay, yeah, and then when it goes up to the auditory cortex, it is reintegrated more. Okay, so the most fine analysis occurs at the level of inferior colliculus. In birds, I forgot how to say the bird equivalent of inferior colliculus. It does the integration business. Okay.
It's equivalent. It's equivalent anyway. A
Yeah.
colliculus inferior. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
thank you for the class on that. I
Yes.
appreciate it.
Sorry.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
No, it doesn't.
And oh, and I think you didn't hear me when I said Danielle Takahashi is my colleague here at the
Yeah.
university. We're
Right.
in the
Right.
university,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he is very is an excellent researcher.
Yeah.
I'm sure you noticed.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's amazing researcher.
Yeah.
He worked with vocal ontogeny in
Oh.
primates, and if he's now moving on to birds, but he is very, very good. It would be great to make the connection across the planet between Brazil and Japan a little shorter,
Yeah.
so we could visit each other more, because I
Right.
really fell in love with Japan.
Yeah.
It was like all of my feeds and things on my social media now, it's all Japanese, because I spend so much time at it.
Yeah.
Algorithm. So I'm really glad that I went to
Yeah.
to visit you.
Okay.
Anyways, let's just now finish with um, some interpretation or inference, um, with a question for you, Veronica. So, do you think that the urban environment, as opposed to the conserved environment, which of the two do you think is more variable acoustically?
Is more variable acoustic? I would say the urban, I don't know. At first, I thought the urban environment, but more because it has more sequences possible. Look at like it has more possible sequences to song, even though they may be shorter.
Yeah. So, so the environment itself, where communication is happening, bird communication is happening, might actually, you might be right. So, I think that probably you are right, but I mean, I haven't measured it, but maybe you can just suggest that in your discussion, that a more diverse or variable environment in the urban settings are actually favoring the evolution of um, a, a communication that it's still adjusting to that. So we know that evolution never stops, right? Communication systems, physiology, morphology are evolving indefinitely in time, right? So you might actually have stumbled upon a system that is still evolving. So you might, and you have to think, when you're studying a communication system, you have to remember that even though you're focusing on the sender's end of communication, the sender is actually under the selective pressure of the receiver. So the receiver preference within urban and within conserved habitats might change. So maybe females in the urban setting are changing their preference, and the sanders, the males, are still sort of trying to guess what is preferable, because it's such a new evolution driver, right? The urban environment. I mean, we're here building cities for a split second in time compared to all the evolution in bird communication that happened in a natural environment. So maybe when you say that, and that is true theoretically for everything. When there's a trait, a behavioral trait that is based on learning, like Turdus' song, right? They learn, right? They're open-ended learners, I assume. So when they learn,
I don't know if it's open-ended learner, but it's learning. Vocal
it's learn.
Yeah.
So it learns at some point, you know, in the critical period or forever. We don't know, right? So it's when you have a variable environment, it selects for learning abilities, because you can make mistakes, and the mistakes that you make are not fatal, right? So when you are in an environment that is stable across time, you know, there's a lot of effort in building memory, in building, you know, all the circuitry, the brain circuitry to be able to learn. So when the environment is stable, it would favor songs that are innate, that you don't have to learn, right? So I don't know how Tico Tico is, if the songs are innate or not, but
Vocal learning also.
as well. But because complexity is highest in Sabiá and Turdus, maybe they respond faster to the change in the selective pressures and the preferences of females. So maybe that's evolving into a communication system that will still be efficient within the urban environment. It is important for the birds that are focused on complexity to try out different combinations than in a setting, a conserved setting within the type of habitat that they have evolved to have some sort of, you know, like a species specific song. So do you know what I'm trying to, do you understand my point here? Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe you can speculate a little bit in your dissertation. Think about this a little bit before you speculate, obviously, but I'm just trying to provoke some sort of evolutionary thinking to so you can maybe discuss your findings within this framework of an evolving communication system within urban settings.
Just a minute, you have to take a pause because Okanoya has to take the last train. It's very late there in Japan. So I think
No, I'm
you want
finished.
to.
I'm finished. This is it. So much.
What
Okanoya.
Renata just said is very important, and I hope you can consider that. And I'm sorry I have to leave now, but if I have some additional assignment, please let me know. And please let me know when I can I can see your last revision of the thesis. Okay? And I think you did a great job, Veronica. I'm very sorry that I was late, but I'm happy I was able to participate in discussion. Thank you very much. So I have to go. Bye.
Domo
Thank you.
arigato.
Arigato.
Bye-bye.
Sayonara.
Renata, we can continue in Portuguese or no?
Fine with me. Para mim, pode continuar em português.
Então, essa questão é muito importante que você colocou, mas é assim, tem que sempre pensar na questão da espécie, né? Então, tudo isso, você acha, então, que as mudanças e adaptação ao ambiente urbano pode ser um fator de especiação, né? Então, seria isso. Eu acho que sempre tem que ter em mente que a espécie é uma unidade e que ela vai tentar de tudo para não desvirtuar do código específico, né? Quando você falou do código lá, é o código específico.
Sim, mas aí eu não estou falando exatamente de cladogênese, não. Eu estou falando de variação.
Não, tudo bem, é legítimo, né? Inclusive, pode, aí que eu falo que entra, então, os fatores populacionais e de seleção sexual nesses diferentes ambientes, porque tudo isso é muito importante para a espécie também. Então, eles vão levar isso em consideração. E isso eu acho que a Verônica acabou não falando, mas no meu primeiro trabalhinho que eu fiz com o Sabiá, eu descobri isso, né? Que os resultados mostraram que quando a população era muito densa em ambiente urbano, aí a tendência era ser mais repetitivo o som. Mudava a tendência.
Né? Mais repetitivo.
Mais repetitivo, Agora, também, a outra conclusão que eu cheguei também é que pode ser que existem, então, alguns fatores de repetição elaborada de um padrão, e que isso também seja uma característica preferível para a fêmea também, algo para a seleção sexual, né? Porque eu vi essa tendência também no Turdus rufiventris, né? Que vários lugares bem conservados que eu gravei, eles eram repetitivos também, mas só que bem elaborado. E tem um outro dado que eu criei um sabiá, ele ficou isolado acusticamente. E aí ele não conseguia fazer esses assobios elaborados, né? Provavelmente o som dele não ia ser reconhecido pela própria espécie como sendo da espécie, porque estava muito degenerado, porque ele não aprendeu. Então, talvez esse tipo de característica do canto.
Né, Malu? Porque, por exemplo, aí. Mas eu vou falar isso, depois eu vou fazer uma ressalva. Indivíduos diferentes, em diferentes pontos, vão estar expostos a, vamos dizer, provavelmente, diferentes mascaramentos, bandas de mascaramento, né? E aí, não sei se isso é verdade ou não. Pode ser que sim, pode ser que não. Mas explicaria, né, o que você está falando aí. Eu acho que, assim, eu queria só provocar na Verônica essa linha de pensamento, sabe? Você com ela, né, que conhecem mais a espécie e o que é importante na evolução do sinal dessa espécie e do código dessa espécie, né, que vão saber ver o que é relevante e o que não é. Né? Então, eu defiro isso aí a vocês, né? Agora, o que me chamou a atenção também, eu falei que era a última coisa, mas ainda tem uma coisa que eu acabei de ver aqui que eu anotei. O N é pequeno, né, cara? O N é muito pequeno e vocês...
desculpa que meu microfone te corta.
Não, mas depois você responde. Vocês chegaram a fazer um teste de poder, assim, um D-Power, uma coisa, para ver se a variância é grande o suficiente para vocês terem que ter tido um pouco mais de amostra? Vocês fizeram esse tipo de teste?
Não, né, Verônica? Mas você tem razão, realmente a questão do N pequeno pode ser um complicador aí, né?
Que teve alguns problemas, que, por exemplo, meu microfone deu uma quebrada no final da pesquisa e eu tive que jogar muita gravação fora. Então, isso foi uma coisa que, sim, acabou não dando.
São filhos da pandemia, né? Aconteceram realmente muitas coisas, mas tem um potencial maravilhoso, assim, né?
Não,
mais dados.
São excelentes, né? Os resultados são muito interessantes, né? Mas, assim, é importante você novamente, saber a limitação das suas inferências, né? E deixar isso claro para o leitor, né? Senão o revisor vai cair exatamente no que você não criticou. Ele vai criticar a sua falta de crítica. Um bom revisor não quer só simplesmente rejeitar o paper. Um bom revisor quer ver se a pessoa que está escrevendo fez uma autocrítica completa. E o que tiver faltando ali de crítica, ele vai oferecer a crítica para a pessoa poder abordar e publicar aquele artigo, né? Eu acho que qualquer revisão que fuja muito disso é uma revisão que é melhor mudar de jornal, porque a pessoa não vai te ajudar, né? Mas, então, assim, de repente, se você olhar para a variância dos seus dados, e se a variância for pequena, aí não tem problema, né? Porque, vamos dizer, estatística serve, gente, para fazer inferência, porque existe variância. Se não existisse variância, não precisava de estatística, né?
Eu tinha dado uma olhada rápida na variância, tipo, parecia, tipo, ele ficava, admito que ele ficava um pouco na risca, mas parecia que era, tipo, não era algo que ia causar problema nos resultados. Por isso que eu continuei os status fazendo os testes normais, mas eu tinha visto tanto a distribuição quanto a variância dos dados.
Tá, existem testes específicos mesmo, né? Tem acho que um programa que chama G-Power, que você pode colocar os seus dados e ele vai te dar, por exemplo, assim, qual que é o tamanho amostral mínimo que você deveria ter para avaliar essas diferenças em categorias. Assim.
Nós temos muitas condições de aumentar a amostra também, né? Eu acho, para fazer uma publicação, mas não sei se é o caso, né?
A amostra é sempre melhor, né, gente? Vamos combinar que a amostra é sempre melhor, né?
Uhum.
Mas, assim, eu não sei qual que é o planejamento de vocês querem submeter isso logo, né? Não sei. Mas,
eu acho que tem que submeter o que ela fez, né? Porque com base. Que eu acho assim, o que ela fez, mesmo que tenha falhas de como foi medido, ruído, alguma coisa, mas ela comparou as populações, então mostra o resultado das comparações, é isso.
Não,
né?
eu acho que é publicado. Eu não acho que tenha problemas graves, não. Nenhum problema grave, eu acho. Eu acho só que talvez, né, algum revisor possa pedir isso para vocês, assim, ou um teste mostrando que o N é suficiente, ou que vocês aumentem a amostra, que é pior, né? Certo? E era isso. Tá de parabéns, Verônica. Tá muito bonito o trabalho. Você é uma ótima professora. Tenho certeza que se você resolver ir por esse caminho, você vai estar muito bem. Seus alunos vão aprender bastante com você. Viu? Parabéns a Malu aí pela orientação, né? Eu sempre fico muito orgulhosa da minha ex-aluna, que agora é minha colega Marina Duarte, que fez, né, contribuições muito relevantes, Marina, muito pertinentes. Você está de parabéns aí também. E é isso, agradecer mais uma vez aí a oportunidade de contribuir, mais uma vez, para os avanços, né, da bioacústica no Brasil. Obrigada, gente.
Foi muito bom. Nossa, agradeço muito, Renata, né, que nos salvou aí no momento. O Okanoya também eu agradeço muito, porque, nossa, ele estava longe de casa ainda, né? Eu vi que ele estava no laboratório, não tinha me dado conta que já é bem tarde da noite, ele ainda ia pegar um trem, né? Então, tá complicado. E você, Marina, também, muito obrigada. Também está longe, né? Cada um num ponto aí do Brasil, e a Marina trabalha na Inglaterra e fez ótimas contribuições. Então, eu acho que agora a gente pode tirar da transmissão ao vivo, né? E deliberar, e depois a gente volta, né? Agora eu preciso de ajuda. Verônica, então?
Eu vou encerrar a transmissão, então. Obrigada a todo mundo que estava assistindo até agora também.
E daí a gente continua, né? Não precisa fazer nada, né? É isso aí.
Não, tchau, tchau.